Excuse me, is your wife home? I was hoping to speak with her for a moment.
The knock on the door came just as I was settling onto the couch for the evening. I wasn't expecting anyone. My wife, Maya, was upstairs getting ready, humming softly to herself. I swung the door open and just froze. A stranger stood on my porch, well-dressed and smiling like he belonged there. He asked if Maya was home. I said yes and asked who he was. He looked right past me into my house and said, "I'm here to spend some time with your wife." I laughed out loud. It had to be a joke, a really bad one. But he didn't laugh back. He just stood there, his smile unwavering, and said, "Maya invited me." My chest tightened. I told him he must be mistaken. He shook his head slowly. "Weekends are our thing," he said, his voice casual. I told him to leave. Instead, he took a step closer, right into my personal space. "Don't make this difficult," he warned. Anger started to bubble up inside me, but I kept my voice steady. "You have the wrong house," I repeated, more firmly this time. That's when Maya appeared at the top of the stairs. Her face went completely pale when she saw him. She whispered his name, and it sounded like a curse. I turned to her, my voice barely a whisper, and asked, "Who is he?" The silence that followed was the only answer I needed. Finally, she managed to say, He's a coworker." The stranger smiled. "We have plans," he announced to the room. My hands started to shake. I looked at Maya, begging her with my eyes to deny it. "Is that true?" I asked. She wouldn't look at me. "It's not what it looks like," she stammered. The stranger let out a short, harsh laugh. "Honesty is so refreshing, isn't it?" "Get out of my house," I told him, my voice dangerously low. He just smirked. "Maya needs a little excitement." That was it. I lost my patience. I took a step toward him. "Leave now." He scoffed, looking completely unfazed. "You can't stop me." But then Maya's voice cut through the tension. She yelled his name and told him to go. He looked surprised for a moment, then amused. "I'll call you later," he said, winking at her before turning to leave. I slammed the door so hard the frame rattled. The house felt unbearably quiet. I turned to face Maya, the question hanging heavy between us. "How long has this been going on?" She started to cry. "It wasn't physical," she sobbed. I stared at her, incredulous. "And that's supposed to help?" She said she felt ignored, lonely. I reminded her that betrayal doesn't announce itself with a polite knock. It just barges in. "I never meant for him to come here," she cried. "Then why?" I asked, my voice cold. "Did he feel comfortable enough to show up on our doorstep?" She had no answer. That night, we slept in separate rooms. The silence was a physical weight. The next morning, she tried to talk to me. I told her I didn't want excuses. I needed the truth. She unlocked her phone and showed me the messages she'd been hiding. Reading them felt like watching our life together crack and splinter. Each word was a tiny hammer blow against something I thought was permanent. "Why didn't you just talk to me?" I asked, feeling a strange mix of anger and hurt. "I was afraid you wouldn't listen," she admitted. And in that moment, I had to be honest with myself. I had been distant. I had been wrapped up in my own world. I didn't admit fault for her choices, but I acknowledged my part in the distance between us. She apologized, truly apologized, without trying to defend herself. And that mattered more than any tears. We agreed to set new boundaries immediately. Right there in front of me, she blocked his number. I didn't cheer. I didn't feel any relief. Trust doesn't rebuild that fast. The days that followed were filled with uncomfortable honesty. We talked more than we had in years. Some conversations ended in tense silence. Others ended with a small flicker of understanding. A week later, she went to her company's HR department and reported what happened. The stranger stopped contacting her. The threat was gone, but the damage remained. Slowly, very slowly, the house started to feel like a home again. We were careful with each other, like two people learning to walk after a serious injury. One evening, she asked me if I still loved her. The question hung in the air. I told her the truth. "The love is still there," I said, "but it's bruised. It's hurt." She nodded, her eyes welling up again. "I'll wait," she promised, "as long as it takes." And for the first time in a long time, I cautiously believed her. Months later, another knock came at the door. My heart leaped into my throat, a jolt of pure adrenaline. I walked to the door, my hands clammy, and looked through the peephole. It was just a delivery driver. I let out a shaky breath and laughed at myself. Maya came up behind me and squeezed my hand. "I get it," she said softly. "I understand why you flinched." And in that moment, I realized something important. Healing doesn't erase the memory of the pain. It doesn't make the scar disappear. It just teaches you how to live with it, how to carry it without it breaking you. Our marriage wasn't perfect after that. It was never going to be, but it was honest, raw, painful, and brutally honest. And in the end, that honesty made all the difference. It saved us. Thanks for watching our story. If you've ever been through something similar, remember you're not alone. Talking about it is the first step. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about real life and real relationships.